It's Christmas! Well, not quite, but that doesn't mean that we can't start decorating for this fabulous time of year. I love dupes, and I also love MACKENZIE-CHILDS, so I thought let's kick off this season by doing some MACKENZIE-CHILDS dupes and save ourselves over $1,000 in the process. Our first dupe is going to be this Courtly Capiz gift tower. Isn't it fabulous? I love the color, the designs, the stripes and the checks and the polka dots. What a fun piece to display over the holiday season. What's not fun is the price of $99.95. That's pretty high, especially for the size of this. It's only 4.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. So it's an itty bitty little thing. So our dupe is going to be almost 5 times as big, but it's not going to cost 5 times as much. What we need to start off with is some boxes. So I headed on over to Hobby Lobby. Their party section has a great selection of boxes. So I picked up 3 different sizes. I've got a large, a medium, and a small. The next thing we need is some gift wrap, and they had a whole bunch of gift wrap on that same aisle. And guess what? They had a black and white check design, and this wrapping paper was 50% off, so we are already off to a fabulous start. What we need to do is cut this wrapping paper into a size that will fit around the perimeter of our box. So I laid out my wrapping paper, and then I took my box and I placed it over the center. I wrapped the paper around the box. Then I got some Scotch tape and I taped the wrapping paper to the box. Next, I took the lid and I flipped it over and I put it over the top of the wrapping paper. I cut a size that would go around it, and then I simply wrapped this wrapping paper around the box and taped it in place. Now we need some wrapping paper for our medium-sized box, and right next to the black and white checked wrapping paper was a black and white striped paper. How lucky are we? And once again, this was 50% off. Hooray. So what we're going to do is the exact same thing. We're going to lay out our wrapping paper, put the box over the top, cut out the correct size. I pull the wrapping paper tightly because we don't want to have any gapping around the box. And then I taped it in place. Then I took my square box, placed that over the wrapping paper, cut out the correct size. Then I wrapped it around the lid and taped it in place. Next is the smallest box, and you can see that it's got some polka dots in different sizes on this box. Well, I couldn't find any wrapping paper or scrapbook paper that would mimic this design. You can use some stickers. That would be fantastic if you found some black circle stickers. You could also just cut them out yourself. Just get some black cardstock and cut out a bunch of different circles in a bunch of different sizes, and you could either tape or hot glue them to the box. What I'm gonna do is get out my Cricut Maker, and I'm just gonna have it cut out different size circles on some permanent black vinyl. This is gonna work for me, but there are plenty of other options that you can use without using a Cricut Maker. So I just peeled away the excess vinyl from around my circles, and then I placed these circles in various areas around my box. These vinyl circles are basically stickers, so once again, if you can't find wrapping paper that mimics that polka dot look, you can get some stickers in multi-sizes and place them all over your box. Once I had the circles on the box itself, I moved on and added the circles to the lid. Now all 3 of my boxes have been wrapped very affordably in an identical design as our inspiration piece. Now we need some ribbon in this black and white check design. I headed over to Michael's because this is exactly what I was looking for, and they had it. I love this size. It's going to be perfect for our stacking boxes. On our inspiration boxes, you can see that there's a gold outline on either side of our ribbon. We do not have that on this ribbon. So we need to figure out a way to get that gold line. Now we are going to be doing it in 2 different ways. So if the first way doesn't work for you, I've got another way coming up. What I'm gonna do is just get some gold permanent vinyl. And I'm going to create a couple of different sized rectangles. that we can put on our stacking boxes behind the ribbon. So I'm just going to have my Cricut Maker cut out a variety of different sized rectangles in this champagne gold permanent vinyl. The width of all these rectangles is going to remain the same, but the height is going to vary because of the height of the boxes. I weeded away the excess vinyl from around my rectangles. Once again, I'm using these vinyl pieces like stickers, so if you have a giant gold sticker, you can definitely use that. I'm sticking all of these vinyl rectangles in the center on all 4 sides of the 3 boxes. You can see that some of the gold stickers don't go all the way to the top. That's not a big deal. I did that on purpose because we need to be able to put the lid on, and we don't want anything preventing the lid from being pressed back onto the top of the box. So now that we've got our vinyl pressed onto our box, we are now going to add our ribbon. I measured the ribbon and cut them into 4 segments. Then I added a squiggle of hot glue to the center of our vinyl sticker and then pressed the ribbon firmly into the hot glue. Then I repeated this process on all 4 rectangles. I added the hot glue to the sticker and pressed the ribbon into the hot glue. Once I was finished with the largest box, I moved on to the medium-sized stripe box. I added hot glue to the center of the vinyl sticker and then pressed the ribbon into the hot glue. I repeated this process on all 4 sides, and then I moved on to the polka dot box. Once again, I cut out 4 identically sized ribbon segments and hot glued them to the center of the gold vinyl. Once I was finished adding the ribbon to the polka dot box, I placed the lids back on all 3 of my boxes, and look at how fabulous they are. They are an identical match to our inspiration boxes. So at this point, all we need to do is stack our boxes. So I added some hot glue to the bottom of the medium-sized box and pressed it to the center top of the large box. I made sure that the ribbons lined up perfectly, and then I got my polka dot box. I added hot glue to the bottom of the smallest box and pressed it into the center of the striped box. I am loving the way that this is looking right now, but do you know what would make it even better is a giant bow at the top. And this is where the alternative option for gold behind the ribbon comes into play. Now I have some wide gold ribbon. This is Christmas ribbon I purchased at Michael's a couple of years ago. I do not have a lot of this ribbon. This is all I have left. And in fact, that was the main reason why I went to Michael's in the first place, was to see if they had any more of this gold ribbon. They don't right now. So because this ribbon is sparse, that is why I did the 2 different techniques. So let me show you how to do this technique. I rolled out my gold ribbon, and then I added some hot glue to the center of the gold ribbon, and then pressed the black and white checked ribbon into the hot glue. I'm going to continue to add the hot glue to the gold ribbon and then press the black and white ribbon into the center. A lot of times, intricately designed ribbon can be really pricey. This is such a fun way to create a custom ribbon at an affordable price. I continued to layer my ribbons on top of each other, and in no time I had a custom ribbon that's going to be perfect for my bow. The way I'm going to be creating my bow is going to be different than just taking ribbon and tying it into a bow. What I'm going to do is cut this long segment of ribbon into multiple different smaller segments. I've got 2 segments for the tails of the bow, and then I have some longer segments that we are going to loop together into some circles. I took the first long segment of ribbon, added hot glue to the end, and then pressed the opposite end of the ribbon into the hot glue to create a circle. Then I repeated the process with the second segment of a long ribbon. Then I'm going to take the loops and intermix them and then pinch the center together. Then I cut a smaller segment of the black and white checked ribbon and wrapped it around the center of the loops, and then hot glued this small segment in place. And now I'm just going to take the shorter tail segments and we're going to dovetail the end of it. So I folded the ribbon in half and then cut a diagonal at the bottom to create a dovetail. Then I added hot glue to the top of the polka dot box and pressed my first ribbon tail into the hot glue. I added more hot glue to the top of the box and pressed the second ribbon tail into the hot glue. Then I added a giant dab of hot glue to the top of the box and pressed the bow into the hot glue. And now I have a beautiful multi-layered ribbon at the top of our gift box tower. And we are completely done. Check out our gift box tower. It is absolutely magnificent. I love the various designs that we have on our box, from the black and white checked on the large box to our striped medium-sized box and that cute little polka dot box at the top. Isn't that just adorable? I cannot even tell you how much I love this. And then check out that bow. Look at our pretty little bow with our layered ribbons. It is definitely the piece de resistance that this box needed at the top. So let's take a minute and remember how much our MACKENZIE-CHILDS stacking gift box cost. It was $99.95, and do you remember it was just kind of teeny tiny? It was like a 4 by 11, so it was much smaller than our box. After calculating all the costs that went into creating my gift box tower, the grand total was $23.46. What a fantastic price. And I'm going to put my box right up next to the MACKENZIE-CHILDS box so you guys can see how similar they are. Check that out. They're almost indistinguishable. But one big difference is the size. Mine is half the size of me, and our inspiration piece is much, much smaller. I love the way that our stacking boxes turned out, and I love the price and the size of mine so much more. We definitely were able to get a fabulous holiday look for much less. If you like high-end dupes like these, thrift flips, DIY decor, or seasonal decorating, then you have definitely come to the right place. We are starting our Christmas decorating videos starting today. Natalie and I went to the thrift store last week, and we are going to be doing a Christmas thrift flip next week. So make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on that fun episode. And then also starting today, I'm going to try my very hardest to get 2 videos out a week. So I'm going to be putting out an additional video on Monday, and then of course we'll do our Thursday video just regular. So I'm gonna have a whole lot of inspiration and some ideas for you guys, so make sure you're subscribed so you won't miss out on any of the decorating fun.
Christmas has begun to arrive at the Burningham home. It looks like Santa dumped off his sleigh in my dining room. I've got so many boxes to open. I've actually already started, and here is a sneak peek at the decorations for this year's Christmas.
I am going to leave our stacked gift boxes right here for the rest of the video. That way we can admire how fabulous they look. Well, I think it's time to move on to our next MACKENZIE-CHILDS inspired dupe, and it is this Noel tall pearl tree. I have actually had my eye on this tree for quite some time. I think it looks so classy and elegant. I love the gold. I love the black and white checks. And I love those pearls on there. We are actually going to be using a lot of crystals and pearls in my decorations this year. So this is going to fit right in with that theme. Now let's check out the price of this Christmas tree. If you want to buy this from their website, you're gonna have to pay $189.95. We do not want to do that, and so that is why we are making our own. Now the first thing we need is some kind of a form so we can create our Christmas tree. Well, while I was at Hobby Lobby, I went down their styrofoam aisle and they had several options for styrofoam cone forms. I picked up one that was the same size as our inspiration Christmas tree. The next thing that we are going to need is a whole bunch of holly leaves. Now I'm going to give you a couple of different ways that you can get this look. The first is just to purchase a package of holly leaves. If you can find some, good for you. I could not find any, so I decided that I needed to cut them out, and that's something else you could do. You could cut out these beautiful leaves with some gold paper or some black and white check paper. I'm gonna take the easy way out, you guys. I'm just going to have my Cricut Maker once again cut out these holly leaves on some gold metallic paper. This is easy because I can get a uniform size leaf and it saves me a whole lot of time. I peeled away the excess metallic paper from my holly leaves, and then I peeled each leaf away from the sticky mat. I have about 60 gold leaves. And this paper is fantastic. This is from a book of cardstock. I love how it's shimmer and shiny. It's going to be perfect for our leaves. Now we need to add our leaves to the styrofoam cone. We are going to do that with some hot glue. I'm adding each of these leaves to the styrofoam cone individually. I added a dab of hot glue to the styrofoam cone and then pressed the gold leaf into the hot glue. I'm going to be hot gluing these leaves around the bottom first. I'm doing this process in layers. I want to keep the leaves uniform and in line, so I continue to add hot glue rows of leaves to the styrofoam cone all the way up to the top. You can see that I do have some spacing in some areas because we need to have a few gaps here and there to add the rest of the details to the tree later on. So now that all my gold leaves are in place, we need some black and white checked leaves, and I'm going to be using this black and white checked paper that I purchased at Michael's. It was only 99 cents, which is a great deal. So I'm going to once again just have my Cricut Maker cut out uniform holly leaves on this paper. I peeled away the leaves from the sticky mat. I don't need nearly as many of these black and white leaves as I did with the gold leaves because these leaves are going to be the accent leaves. I'm going to hot glue these leaves to the cone in sporadic areas around the tree. I'm going to be filling up any gaps so you can't see the cone underneath. I'm also going to be spreading these leaves out so they don't clump up in one area. Now we've got our gold leaves and our black and white leaves glued to our styrofoam cone, and now it's time for the pretty part. We need some pearls. While I was at Hobby Lobby, I went down the jewelry making aisle and I found a package of pearls, and it was 50% off. Hooray. And look at how pretty these pearls are. They're actually a pretty good size, and I love the sheen that's on them. They're going to be so perfect. So what I'm going to do is just add some hot glue to the pearls and then press them onto the cone Christmas tree. Once again, I'm spacing these pearls out. I'm also going to be adding them to any vacant spaces where the styrofoam is still visible. I think that these pearls are an elegant addition to this tree, and I also like how they're 3D, so it adds extra dimension. The only thing we need to do now is add a pretty bow to the top. I have this black and white checked ribbon that I purchased quite a while ago from Hobby Lobby. It's the perfect size. It's not quite as big as the thicker ribbon that we used on our stacky boxes. This is thinner. It's going to be perfect for our topper. I'm going to be creating this bow the exact same way that I created this bow. So I'm going to cut this ribbon into different segments. I'm going to hot glue the longer segments together to create circles. Then I'm going to intertwine them. I pinched the center of the loops and wrapped a shorter segment of the ribbon around the center and hot glued it in place. Then I'm going to dovetail the ends of the ribbon tails and hot glue them to the back of the bow. And now we have this perfectly designed ribbon that mimics our inspiration piece identically. I want my bow to be able to sit upright. So what I did was I got one of the pearls and I hot glued that to the top of the cone so my bow had something to rest against. Once the pearl had been hot glued in place, I added additional hot glue to the top of the cone and then pressed my bow into the hot glue. And that's it. We are done with our Courtney Noel Pearl Christmas tree. Look at how fabulous this thing is. It's everything I wanted and more. I love the shimmer and shine that reflects from the gold metallic holly leaves. The black and white check leaves are a fantastic contrast, both in color and design to the gold. These pearls are my favorite part. They're just such a fun little ornament to put on our trees. And since we're going to be using a lot of pearls in my Christmas decor this year, the pearls on this tree are perfect. And of course, look at that cute little bow at the top. Isn't that the perfect tree topper? It's just the right size. It doesn't overwhelm the tree. It's just enough. So let's look back at our Inspiration MACKENZIE-CHILDS Pearl Christmas tree. It was $189.95 after calculating all the costs that went into creating my stunner of a Christmas tree. The grand total was only $14.22. Isn't that a fantastic price? And ours are the same size. I'm going to put them right up next to each other once again so you can see how similar they look. My tree looks almost identical to the expensive MACKENZIE-CHILDS Christmas tree. However, we were able to save around $175 and we still got that high-end look. I love decorating with Christmas village houses. I do it every year and I am definitely planning on doing it this year as well. So when I saw this gingerbread illuminated house on the MACKENZIE-CHILDS website, I knew I needed one, but I did not need one for the price of $995.95. Yikes, that's pretty steep. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep this in the back of my mind, and whenever I go shopping, I'm going to see if I can find a gingerbread house that is similar. Well, this past week, my daughters, Ellie and Violet, and I went out Christmas shopping, and we went to Burlington, and lo and behold, they had a gingerbread house that was so similar, I had to buy it. It's not identical, but it is pretty close. Look at all that scroll work that's on this beautiful gingerbread house, and it is illuminated. It's got a light inside, so it's similar in that way too. The way that it is not similar is that this gingerbread house was only $19.95, which is a fantastic price. Our inspiration gingerbread house has a black and white checked roof. Mine does not, and I don't want to do anything permanent to this roof because I may want to use this gingerbread house in a different display either this year or next year, so I'm going to be doing something that is semi-permanent. And we are once again going to take advantage of our black and white checked wrapping paper. So what I did was I cut out a rectangular segment. I laid it over half of the roof. This side has a dormer window, so we need to cut around it. I'm going to be using an X-Acto knife to cut out a triangle so that the paper can lay flat. I'm going to be adhering this wrapping paper to the roof with a little bit of hot glue. The hot glue will peel off eventually if I don't want to make this black and white wrapping paper permanent. It's a great fix for now, so I'm going to add a little bit of the hot glue around the edges of the wrapping paper so it will stay in place. Next, I just turned my gingerbread house around, so now we have the opposite side of the roof. And once again, I just cut out a segment of wrapping paper that would fit over the side of the roof. We have a chimney on this side, so I cut around the chimney area so that the wrapping paper would lay flat. Then I added a little bit of hot glue so that the wrapping paper would stay in place. How easy was that? That was such a piece of cake, and now we have a roof that mimics our inspiration piece beautifully. The next thing we need to do is create 2 mini Christmas trees. You can see that there are a Christmas tree that flanks either side of the doorway on our inspiration piece. We want to do the same thing. So I need some little teeny tiny cups. I went to the Dollar Tree and I headed over to the plastic party dishware and I picked up a package of small shot glasses. These are the perfect size for our tree container. Now they are clear, so we need to change that. Once again, to get that striped look, I am going to be using the striped wrapping paper that we got at Hobby Lobby. So what I did was cut out some arched segments of wrapping paper that will go around our curved glasses. I added hot glue to the plastic glasses and then wrapped the wrapping paper around it and then repeated this process on the second glass. I simply just hot glued this wrapping paper in place. That was so easy to do, and look at how fabulous they are. They are cheap, affordable, and simple. To hold our trees in place, I'm going to be using some white styrofoam. I just got a knife and I cut off a square and then I placed them inside of our glasses. There are a few options that you can use as trees to go inside of these little containers. The first thing I thought of was a mini white bottle brush Christmas tree. Wouldn't that look so cute inside of these containers? I couldn't find any right now that were small enough. So what I did was I just went into my bedroom and I have a garland in there, and I just cut off a couple of these little segments of garland. Don't those look just like little Christmas trees, little flock Christmas trees? And you know what, you guys, no one's gonna ever even know that those pieces are missing from the garland. Well, I guess you and I will know, but it'll be our secret. So what I'm going to do is take my little segments of garland and I'm going to press them inside of the styrofoam. The styrofoam will keep these trees upright and hold them in place. Aren't these little mini Christmas trees adorable? They're going to look so cute, flanking either side of our gingerbread doorway. Speaking of our gingerbread house, we're done, you guys. Check out how cute our gingerbread house looks. That was so easy to do. Just by using some wrapping paper, we were able to get that iconic MACKENZIE-CHILDS look. And once again, this is semi-permanent, so I can remove the wrapping paper later on if I want to use the house in a different way. By finding and purchasing this gingerbread house at Burlington for $19.99 and by making our little trees from items that we got at the Dollar Tree and my bedroom, we were definitely able to keep costs down. Speaking of costs, let's go back and remember our MACKENZIE-CHILDS illuminated gingerbread house. It is so cute, but for the price of $999.95, that's a little too expensive. After calculating all the costs that went into creating my beautiful gingerbread house and trees, the grand total was $22.39. Now, I did not calculate the cost of the wrapping paper into this particular DIY because I already calculated it into the cost of our boxes and we don't really need to do it again. Our gingerbread house itself does not mimic the MACKENZIE-CHILDS gingerbread house, but it definitely takes inspiration from it. I'm going to place my gingerbread house and trees right up next to our inspiration piece. Once again, they look so similar, but we were able to save around $975 creating our own. What a fantastic deal. I love decorating for Christmas. This is my favorite time of year to decorate. And I'm going to show you that you can decorate your home with pieces that are not going to break the bank. If you find something that you absolutely love, but it's out of your budget, don't worry. You can get an almost identical look, and in my opinion, a better look because of the size and the scale for so much less. All you need to do is get creative. Take advantage of items that you have around your house, items that are similar, and you will be able to get the holiday look you want, which proves that you can live beautifully and you can do it during this festive holiday season. So today officially kicks off our holiday decorating season. I know it's a little bit earlier, but my excuse is that I'm doing it for you guys, right? I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it so you guys can have some inspiration that you can look back on when you're ready to decorate your home, and you can be able to have such a huge arsenal of ideas swirling around in your mind. And remember, I will be putting out an additional video on Mondays. So yes, we will continue to have our videos on Thursdays, but I'm going to try my very hardest to get a video out on Monday as well. Well, I hope you got some inspiration or some ideas today. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.